my early 40s and um, training and things, but I noticed that you look like you made a pretty big jump there, and I'm just curious to how much, you felt like, was it the training style, or what are some things you did that you feel like helped you stay strong? I not the same level as you in my early 20s, but I competed in my 20s in powerlifting and bodybuilding, and then went the corporate route for a while, and then I don't have any aspirations of chasing a pro thing, but definitely I think there's a lot of guys and girls like me in our age groups that want to get after it again. And just interested to hear your perspective on how you're able to do that. What you felt like was a big difference for you.
Boy, I wish I could pinpoint one thing, and I'm hesitant to do so, because we see too much of that now. The influencers talking about these mechanisms of action and making these giant logical leaps into outcomes, and they just aren't there. When I sat down with Flex Wheeler in 2008, and I was just like the audience now. You asked a very great question. They're like, okay, here we go. Here's the one big thing. It isn't any one big thing. When I sat down with Flex Wheeler, I was waiting for the Wizard of Oz to pull back the curtain and show me the secret. I'd spent untold fortunes and time and travel looking under every rock, trying to find something that was significant, that would take me to the next level. How many times have you heard that over the years?
Yeah, right.
And everything, if I go from 2 IUs to 20 IUs of GH, I'm gonna make a real, impact on the sport. None of that is true. And if I thought something was significant, I would say it.
Yeah.
And I sat down there with Flex with a yellow pad of paper, and I was so eager, and he talked for an hour and a half. This was at Firehouse Restaurant in Venice. I still remember sitting there listening to him. And at the end of the conversation, I didn't have anything written on my paper. He didn't tell me anything I didn't already know. And I do all these podcasts, and I see comments from people. Stan just keeps repeating himself. He says the same thing. And that's because that's the shit that works. Yeah. And I'm not interested in making stuff up,
right,
or over exaggerating the meaningfulness of some, some nominal little supplement or, training protocol, or everything works. Nothing works forever. The reason I wrote the Vertical Diet book is because it's very comprehensive. It includes all the things that I think you need to do concurrently, the whole being greater than the sum of its parts. And that's why I go down the whole sleep, hydration, nutrition, blood testing, obviously the training portion, and supplements. I cover everything in there. Certainly the performance enhancing drug protocols, make a significant difference. But I always enjoyed, this kind of as an aside, hearing somebody who wanted to, or was going to compete against me, saying things like, as soon as I get my finances together, because that told me that they had nothing else, in their quiver, no other arrows. And I already knew that they weren't living the bodybuilding lifestyle. They weren't eating consistently enough good quality foods. They weren't training nearly hard enough, consistently enough, sleeping. These were people who would go out and party on the weekends and, eat fast food and, train to show off. See how many plates they can put on the leg press, but not do a full rep. I wish I could pinpoint something in particular, but what I said is I had the time and I had the resources.
Yeah.
I was able to move to San Jose and live in an extended stay, or it was a place with a kitchen, just across the street from the gym, and train twice a day with Flex Wheeler, eat 6-7 times a day, nap every afternoon, sleep 9 hours a night. I was eating 3+ pounds of top sirloin steak, and I think that made a difference in my physique, certainly, but I can't say it was any one thing. And then, obviously hiring someone like Flex to work with me twice a day. I did a video where I talked about why I'm a hypocrite. It's a YouTube video where I go into the financial cost of all of that I just mentioned. You can imagine just staying in a 2-bedroom place with a kitchen, because I was there with Keith Williams at the time. Another IFBB Pro, Nike track sponsored athlete. So, I also did another video called "The Real Reason Why Westside Barbell Athletes Are So Strong," and it speaks a lot about just training in general. Surrounding myself with people like Flex and Keith that pushed me so hard every single day. It was an unbelievable commitment. I think just recently I saw Brian Carroll say the most important thing you can do for, or something that somebody can have for, becoming strong, is your team. And I mentioned that in that video about Westside Barbell Athletes. You know, when you're training with great people under great coaches, and you know, and everybody's committed and they're pushing each other, and you're competing against each other, like I was at Mark Bell's place. He threw me in with the best benchers, the best squatters, the best deadlifters, and we just went at it. You know, just every single workout was just brutal, and so obviously that whole thing, you know, it was tens of thousands of dollars over a 3-month period. You know, it was damn near, you know, $2,000 a month just in food. So I was fortunate not to have any distractions or any stress.
Yeah.
I didn't have any kids. I didn't have, you know, to worry about work or money or all of that. And so I was fully, and then as soon as I got my pro card with Flex, I drove from San Jose to Sacramento, and I lived there for over 2 months and trained with Mark Bell under the same circumstances, as, you know, and I was very diligent about, you know, every meal, every workout, every hour of sleep. I had to incorporate some better recovery techniques, because at least initially, with all that heavy lifting and not as much volume, I was having a significant amount of DOMs. And so that's when I kind of threw in those, I call them 10-minute walks, but at the time I got a recumbent bike and put it in my room, and I was doing 3 or 4 10-minute spins throughout the day, and it dramatically helped my recovery, just blood flow in general. So I wish I could, you know, pinpoint what was most important, but I think it's all of those things. And when I did that seminar in Iceland with Hafthor Bjornsson some years ago, I said, sleep, eat, train. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and optimizing those. I've kind of moved past, as has the nutrition community, the PhDs in nutrition now, moved past focusing on individual foods and looking more at dietary patterns, and then quickly going from information to execution. I say compliance is the science. And so a lot of what I did is I was extremely disciplined, had good time management. I was very consistent. You know, everything was just dialed down to where it was just so routine every single day. And if something was working, I would double down on it. And if I didn't think I was getting a result from something and it was a distraction, then I would, you know, discard that. And I learned a lot of things from a lot of coaches. And I didn't necessarily agree with everything they said, but you know, I took what worked for me, and I incorporated it into my training and nutrition, etc. And boy, I'm sorry, I don't have anything that's remarkable in that regard.
No,
Well, I think
that's perfect. Actually.
yeah, I was gonna say.
Well,